And welcome back to another episode of Power Rangers Lore. Today we'll be discussing the entire story of Sky Tate, SPD Blue Ranger and second in command of B Squad. From his evolution as an arrogant SOB to someone worthy of being followed, he has a great story arc that is beyond just being a Red Ranger. Thankfully, he is the evolution that we all needed from inside and out to grow as a person. Now let's begin with Sky Tate. Where did he come from? Well, that's the big question. We knew his entire family had some connection to SPD. His father has a more direct connection than anybody else. He was a part of a legacy of an SPD Ranger. His father was the Red Ranger for SPD. Now, where about his mother? We don't know too much beyond that. We know he was probably raised by his mother, but his dad was murdered on the job and had abandoned him young as a kid when he had died. However, Sky took that as a challenge to be as good or as better than his father as a Red Ranger. He was going to take up that mantle and become the next SPD Red Ranger, whatever it took. Even though he was in B Squad, it didn't stop him. He was going to be a Ranger, a Red Ranger, for his father, for his family, for his legacy, and avenge his father's death. Now, he wasn't informed at all about how his father died. He just knew he died on the job being a hero, and that always stuck with him. Now, who his father was, what his name was, we have no idea. We don't even know if his last name was Tate or not, but probably because he would have kept the same last name as his father in such a way. Which, there's a lot of speculation of who it could have been. You've probably seen a few videos showing the captions of Wes from Time Force as his father, but those are all clickbaits type of stuff. There is nothing to actually connect that over at all, but it is a very good theory since the Silver Guardians would have easily developed into an SPD around that same time, and it was made sense with the timeline about his age. However, there is nothing conclusive or concrete at all. So quickly throw that out of your mind. We will eventually learn by some instance of some canon's event or storyline, hopefully in the comics, or if they ever go back to it in some fashion, but I doubt it. Next year is 2025, so, look around for any Power Rangers coming and landing on the field. Now, as I said, everything is for SPD is set in the year 2025, where a bunch of aliens have come down to live peacefully among the Earthlings. We didn't know the exact reason why, but we've kind of figured that out now with the ending of Cosmic Fury. It is basically the last safe haven after a massive invasion of evil forces. So, SPD was fully established on Earth and set to fully take over from there as the official police force, using the morphing grid as their byproduct of defense. Led none other than by Doggy Kruger, or Commander Doggy Kruger. He and the rest of the squad of SPD make sure that the entire space region of the Delta Quadrant is safe. Now, there is several different squads of Power Rangers out there. There's A Squad and B Squad, and there's probably other branches out there that we are not fully aware of. We just mainly focus on B Squad and a little bit on A Squad. This is where Sky's story starts. He is a part of B Squad. There's a 3-squad group right now that has survived training, none other than himself, Sid, and Bridge. Each of these are different from every other individual on training staff as well. They all have some type of genetic power. He has a force field power. Sid has the ability to absorb different metals and become them, or other different... she's like the absorbing man, where she can just touch something, become it for a little bit, and use its power and have great strength. Bridge has the ability to sense auras, and the three of them have kind of become friends of sorts upon the squad. They have gone through their different trials. However, there's still a little bit of disrespect between the three of them. Sid and Bridge seem to get along pretty well. However, Sky thinks he's above them all because he's a legacy. The rest have no real supposed connection to SPD, or so they think. It is during the first assignment, before they're even chosen as Rangers, that they are given, something to do. They are supposed to stop 2 different bandits who have gone around and breaking into stores and stealing different clothes, food, and other accessories. And, these B Squad is sent out to deal with them, while A Squad is sent to deal with bigger threats in their Ranger forms. Now, they go out and do their original little quest, and fail miserably if they run into 2 of the thieves, who turned out to have genetic powers like themselves, Z and Jack. Z has the ability to multiply into different, shadow clones, and Jack can phase through different forms of matter. On their first instance, the squad of B gets their butts kicked handily, and it kind of throws them off entirely. However, after his second match, things are a little bit different. But before they are met up with this other squad, Commander Kruger asks Sky a question of if he were to put someone else in charge of the squad, what would he think about it? And Sky's reply was, well, Bridge is Bridge, and Sid is a girl. He's the only viable candidate in his mind. This is taken with a harumph, and okay, continue on, Sky. However, while Sky didn't see the problem with that, there was a big problem right then and there of just pure ego, and Doggy Kruger was not having any of that. When the squad catches back up with the two thieves, well, things come a little more challenging, and they are forced Jack and Z into a position of surrender when suddenly a force of Trubian warriors shows up to attack the Power Rangers. And, well, they are forced to get their butts kicked until Jack and Z arrive to help them fight against the Trubian soldiers. And then, happily, Sky and the B Squad arrest Jack and Z after their supposed help. Commander Kruger immediately lets them go and gives them a choice. Join B Squad or, do whatever you want. Jack kind of just says no, but Z definitely joins. And Sky's at first going, she's a criminal. Why are you giving these people a chance? Especially since they had no formal training. Their argument was, well, they beat you guys up the first time, so why not? Now, that doesn't sit well with Sky, and he is given, the reins of leading the squad from there on out. That was until they start fighting an actual threat of Trubian Knights and have to deal with, an actual threat. The Rangers actually morph, and, Sky realizes quickly that he's Blue Ranger, not Red, and he's wondering who Red Ranger is. Eventually, Jack decides to join the squad for seeing Z in trouble and the rest of the squad in trouble, and he is named the Red Ranger. This fuelly infuriates Sky from then on out, and a bitter rivalry is born. Fueled by his pride and his lack of faith in his teammates, Sky goes through a whole bunch of different storylines of dealing with his, hurt ego, and doesn't really like Jack at all at first. He could dislike the rest to a certain point, but he still trusts them to a certain point. But Jack, he has a major headbutt clash, and he thinks Jack is undermining him, especially when Jack proves that he's not quite fed up for leadership when, he just doesn't know how to lead it at first. And Jack's never been put in that position before, so it's something that is to be expected. When Jack realizes he has a certain privileges going on there, things get a little more complicated, and, Sky kind of revels in his own smugness. He goes, I was right. Jack isn't worthy of it. Blah-de, 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 blah. And the rest of the squad's going, shut up. They're just tired of hearing it. But he's slightly right. However, Jack does learn his wrongs, and he attempts to right them. And from then on out, he does do a good job, which infuriates Sky even further. Now, when he's given orders by Jack to stay behind and guard some diamonds, because Jack had the idea that this was a whole deploy thing and these guys were going after the diamonds, he wanted Sky to remain because he was the most battle-hardened and one who could hold out his own the longest, rather than the rest of the squad who could deal with the other threat. Sky didn't want to be left behind and thought he was just being relegated to just guard duty on a useless mission and, ignored his orders, which caused the diamonds to be stolen and the entire effort to be lost. Now, Jack tries to talk to him but Sky kind of blows him off and then realizes maybe he was right, whatever, but he still doesn't fully believe that he's worthy of being a leader. He kind of just goes, sure, pat my ego, it's fine. Now, another instance of Sky's growth as a character is when he sees a friend of his come crashing down, and he quickly realizes that, oh my gosh, we could have a bonding moment here. Now, this is not just a normal friend, but a friend from cadet training that they had worked well together and become the very best of friends. Now, all of them are kind of like wary of him just crashing into a warehouse area, but they're kind of taken back to SPD. He is an SPD agent recognized by Skye. However, things get more complicated when he's found snooping around, and Jack becomes immediately suspicious of this guy and starts questioning everything this guy does, which infuriates Skye, who is not liking the fact that Skye is judging him and questioning his friend's loyalty. How dare he? However, Jack is proven correct when the guy turns out to be a agent of Grum who was sent to assassinate Commander Kruger. Now, almost costing Kruger his life as he was shot, and if he hadn't been his, well, dog-like self, he would have died if he was just a human, is what he was basically told there. This infuriates Skye as he's realized that he is betrayed, and again, Jack is proven correct. Now, anyway, to seize back his honor and his pride, he asks Jack to, well, fight against his former friend before anybody else. Now, Jack says it's against regulations, but he goes, it takes a little time to get there, and if you take off now, there's nothing against that. So, Skye runs after, does a quick little duel, and defeats, well, the villain himself, who was his former friend, who had turned into a mercenary rather than a loyal agent like he had once said he was going to be. Now, because of his neglect of duty, he was forced again to be punished by Doggy Kruger, and this was to scrub every surface of the cement building complex of the SPD, which was a massive structure, mind you. It's a literal Zord. So things got a little more complicated there, and he had to clean it with a toothbrush. Now Jack comes up and says, I'm sorry about this, that he had to do this whole thing. I'm going to help out. Skye kind of goes, you don't have to gloat, and what are you doing? You don't have to help. And like Jack picks up a toothbrush and starts helping him clean out certain areas. That's when Skye starts giggling, and Jack goes, what's so funny? And he goes, I'm not using my toothbrush, I'm using yours. Kind of showing right there that even though he said that Jack was right about his friend being things and he was the right one to make the call, he's still bitter about not being the Red Ranger and about Jack, period. So he's still not over in one episode. This is like several episodes already that he's just not gotten over this fact that he is not the Red Ranger, which is good writing. Now, things seem to go a little bit better after this. They become more of a closer bond of friendship. However, a bitterness still is there, and it is when Jack gets an upgrade. He's able to get his own battleizer, and he goes up to the lead scientist and goes, I can't wait till I get my own battleizer. When is that going to happen? And she just looks at him kind of surprised. She goes, oh, I mean, it's only for the Red Ranger, which, again, starts a big nerve right there, and it just, you can see it visibly hurts him. And he's like going, I understand that I'm not going to be the Red Ranger, but you don't have to keep rubbing it in my face. That's how he feels. And I understand that to a deep point. But, man, a lot more going on there. Now, when the team faces against several different criminals they've already captured, things get a little more complicated. And they are sent on a mission to deal with this. And they don't know what they're fighting or how they're able to get these criminals back in their cages when they're already there. So they're wondering what's really going on here. Well, News Kruger sends Skye to seek advice on the monster's identity from another monster in jail who is a information broker, so to speak. This monster is known as Mirlock. And, well, he's able to escape into anything that has a reflection. So, that means you have to wear special glasses. Skye goes to this guy and makes a deal. Doesn't know quite sure what the deal is, but does get some information saying that this monster is able to copy the abilities of other monsters. All he needs is genetic material of some sort. And, well, that monster was getting genetic material from Broodwing himself. So, when he comes back, Skye returns and says, you out of the deal? What do you want? Murloc goes, I want your most painful memory. This really hurts Skye, and he goes, I don't want to talk about it. He goes, like, a deal's a deal. And, well, he goes, the death of his father, and goes into detail at it. And Murloc says, that's the best story he's ever heard. Skye sheds a tear, which is a reflective surface in itself, which was what he was looking for, and Murloc escapes through that tier. And that's when, well, he finds out the bitter truth about Murloc. Yes, Boom comes up and after sniffing around by accident, he finds out that Murloc is the one who killed Sky's father and brings it up to Sky. This is something that Sky had no idea about, that this guy was the guy responsible for his father, and he yells at Kruger for not revealing the truth and sought out Murloc before any other Rangers. He wanted to destroy him once and for all. However, they were all about to be killed when Sam, the Omega Ranger, showed up and saved the day. Well, for those Rangers. However, the battle between Sky and Murloc was not quite over. Murloc basically goes to the mirror realm and starts bragging and calling Sky many different names and is calling his father worthless. He was worthless. They couldn't defeat him, and there was nothing they could do about it. Now, that's when things got more interesting. Jack goes up to Sky and goes, "Here, you beat him as the Red Ranger, as you were meant to be." And he has his own battleizer and defeats, well, Murloc once and for all. But instead of just keeping the red battleizer and the Red Ranger Morpher, he hands it back to Jack with a little sincerity and goes, "Thank you very much. I understand everything you've done. And you know what? My father would be proud of me in any color." That right there shows that he's avenged his father's death. He's proven himself that it doesn't matter what color he is still a Ranger, and he's doing his dad proud. Now, that is kind of the end of his major growth of his storyline. I think eventually, as the team goes on together, they become closer, and they defeat Grum along with the rest of the squad, and he goes on from there. However, Jack leaves immediately after Grum's defeated. He leaves SPD, claiming he doesn't really want to be in charge of SPD. He doesn't want to be there. So he wants to go back to his old life and help the poor and the downtrodden. This leads, well, the B Squad second in command to become B Squad first in command. He then promotes them all to A Squad. And so he's now Red A Squad leader after the other A Squad is turned out to be evil and the like. However, they kind of turned down the A Squad title and keep their B Squad because A Squad turned evil. So they just kind of kept it there. But they're unofficially A Squad in the first squad. Just because you retire A doesn't mean it goes away completely. So they are all there. Sky is called forth. He is named the leader as the Red thing. And he even actually, before he's given the title of Red, he offers it to Sid instead to make her the new Red Ranger. And he respects whatever choice. Kruger goes right then and there, proving that he is worthy of being the Red Ranger. And now he's finally willing to step down. He's realized that his ego isn't about everything. It's about, instead, who's the right person for the job. And it turns out it's him now. Now, from that point, he would eventually go on to grow and take the lead of the team. But he would no longer be Red Ranger as time went on. Bridge would next be the next Red Ranger, strangely enough, and not one of the girls. But he would then become the Shadow Ranger, Anubis Cougar's position as taking over command of SPD. Now that is the story of Sky Tate. From Blue Ranger to Red Ranger to Shadow Ranger, he's evolved as a person as time went on. His entire experience as a Ranger has fully changed him more than he thought he was going to. He thought he was dead set on becoming a Red Ranger and deserved it from the very day he joined SPD Academy. And, well, he found it was a little bit harder than he thought it was going to be, especially when there was other candidates, though weren't quite as strict and following the rules as he was. They were able to teach him that, sometimes, even though there's rules out there, you have to do what is necessary and for your team to survive. Well, that is Sky Tate's full storyline. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and we continue on from there. Now, there is more lore in such as the comics things, but that's kind of a little separate storyline, guys, and we'll talk about that later on. Now, let's continue on from here, guys. Next year is 2025. We have a whole bunch more to go on for different Power Ranger lore, and do not be discouraged. There will be more Power Rangers eventually. It's just a matter of when, where, and, well, definitely not why. Have a good one, guys. May the power protect you always, and I'll make sure to put any comments you have down below, questions, suggestions, anything you want to see in the future. Don't be afraid. Have a good one, and may the power protect you always.